The bullet shattered the window 3 inches from Maya's head. Glass rained down like deadly confetti as she threw herself over Mrs. Choi's hospital bed, her body already moving before her brain caught up. Just like in the alley, just like she'd always done, protecting people who couldn't protect themselves. Except this time, as Jin Choi burst through the door with a gun in each hand and murder in his eyes, Maya realized something that made her blood run cold. She wasn't afraid. She was alive. For the first time in 3 years, facing death alongside this dangerous man and his mother, Maya Johnson felt like she had something worth dying for again. She just didn't know she was protecting the family that had destroyed hers. "Get down!" Jin's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. 2 more bullets punched through the wall behind Maya, close enough that she felt the air displacement. Mrs. Choi cried out beneath her, and Maya pressed lower, her body a shield between the old woman and whoever was trying to finish what they'd started in that alley. Jin moved like violence personified, dropping to one knee and returning fire through the shattered window. The sound was deafening in the small private hospital room. Maya's ears rang, but she kept her eyes on the doorway where 3 of Jin's men poured in, taking defensive positions. "Boss, we need to move her, now." The man was tall, scarred, speaking rapid Korean to Jin while his eyes swept the room for additional threats. "South stairwell's compromised," another guard reported, pressing his earpiece. "They've got shooters on the roof across the street. This was coordinated." Jin's face was a mask of cold fury as he emptied his clip through the window, then smoothly ejected it and slammed in a fresh magazine. "How many?" "At least 6 we've identified, could be more." "The Black Serpent Syndicate," Jin said, and Maya heard something dangerous in his voice. "They're getting bold." He crossed to the bed in 3 strides, and for a moment his eyes met Maya's. Something flickered in that dark gaze. Concern, maybe, or recognition of what she'd just done. Again. "You need to move," he said to her, his voice softer than she'd ever heard it. "Can you run?" "I can do whatever I need to do." Maya's side still ached from the stab wound, but adrenaline was a hell of a drug. "What about Mrs. Choi?" "She comes with us, all of us." Jin turned to his mother, switching to Korean, his tone gentle despite the chaos. Mrs. Choi responded, her voice shaky but determined. Jin nodded, then looked at his largest guard. "Minho, you carry her. Maya, stay between Minho and me. If I tell you to drop, you drop. Understood?" "I'm not helpless." "I know you're not. That's not why I'm telling you this." Jin's eyes held hers. "I'm telling you this because I can't—" He stopped, jaw tightening. "Just stay close." If this opening hooked you, hit that subscribe button because this is just the beginning of Maya's dangerous new world. They moved fast. Minho scooped Mrs. Choi up like she weighed nothing, cradling her against his chest. Maya stayed close, her body still humming with the need to protect, to fight. Jin led them out into the corridor, gun up, every movement precise and controlled. 2 more guards flanked them, weapons drawn. The hospital hallway was chaos. Patients and nurses were screaming, scrambling for cover. Someone had pulled a fire alarm, adding to the confusion. Perfect cover for an assassination attempt. "Emergency exit, East Wing," Jin commanded, moving forward. They'd made it maybe 20 feet when a man stepped out from a patient room, assault rifle rising. Jin fired twice. The man went down before he could get a shot off. Maya's heart hammered, but she didn't freeze. Couldn't freeze. Mrs. Choi needed her. "Keep moving!" Jin didn't even look back at the body. Maya realized with a strange clarity that this was his world. Death. Violence. Split-second decisions that meant living or dying, and he navigated it like most people navigated a grocery store. They hit the stairwell at a run.
We have to get out now.
Jin went first, checking each landing before waving them forward. 5 floors. 4, 3. Maya's side screamed with each step, but she gritted her teeth and kept pace. Behind them, she could hear more gunfire, shouting. Jin's men were engaging the shooters, buying them time. Second floor. Jin held up a hand, and they froze. He listened, head cocked, then slowly opened the door a crack. Whatever he saw made him curse in Korean. They're in the lobby, 4 men, blocking the main exit. He looked at his remaining guards. Jihoon, Sung-min, you're with me. Minho, you get my mother and Maya to the parking garage. Black SUV, Bay 7, keys are in it. If we're not there in 3 minutes, you drive. Boss, Minho started. That's an order. Jin's voice was ice. Then he looked at Maya, and the ice cracked just slightly. Take care of her. Wait, Maya grabbed his arm before he could move. You can't just... There's 4 of them and 3 of you. I've faced worse odds. That's not the point. Maya didn't know why her chest felt tight, why the thought of him walking into danger made her want to grab him and not let go. Let me help. I can fight. Jin's hand came up, almost touched her face, then dropped. I know you can. That's what scares me. Then he was gone, disappearing through the door with his 2 guards before Maya could respond. Miss Maya, we need to go, Minho said gently, adjusting his grip on Mrs. Choi. Maya wanted to argue, wanted to follow Jin into that lobby and watch his back the way she'd watched Mrs. Choi's. But Mrs. Choi was looking at her with worried eyes, and Maya had made a promise to protect her, to keep her safe. So she followed Minho down the final flight of stairs and into the parking garage. The SUV was there, black and armored looking, windows tinted so dark they were nearly mirrors. Minho got Mrs. Choi into the back seat, then turned to Maya. Get in. Driver's seat. What? No, you... Boss's orders. If something happens, you drive. You get her out. Minho pressed the keys into her hand, his expression serious. You're the one she trusts. You're the one he trusts. Maya wanted to ask what he meant by that, but 3 gunshots echoed from somewhere above them. Then silence. Long, terrible silence. Come on, Maya heard herself say, climbing into the driver's seat. Mrs. Choi was in the back, her hand reaching forward to grip Maya's shoulder. He'll be okay, the old woman said softly. My son has survived worse. How do you do it? Maya asked, starting the engine just in case. How do you live with the constant fear that he won't come back? Mrs. Choi was quiet for a moment. I remind myself that he's surviving. That's what we do in this family. We survive. Sometimes that's the only victory we can claim. The stairwell door burst open. Maya's hand went to the gear shift, ready to punch it. But it was Jin, blood on his white shirt. Not his blood, Maya realized, walking toward them with controlled purpose. His 2 guards followed, one limping slightly. Maya didn't realize she'd been holding her breath until it rushed out all at once. Jin opened the passenger door and climbed in, his eyes scanning her face. You okay? I'm not the one covered in blood. It's not mine. Jin turned to check on his mother, speaking Korean to her, his voice soft. She responded, touching his face, and something about the gesture made Maya's chest ache. This cold, dangerous man became someone else entirely when he looked at his mother. Minho took the driver's seat and they peeled out of the parking garage, leaving the chaos behind. The safe house was different from Jin's main compound. Smaller, more remote, nestled in the hills outside the city where trees outnumbered people. Maya watched the landscape change through the window, her adrenaline slowly ebbing, leaving exhaustion in its wake. The Black Serpent Syndicate won't stop, Jin said, breaking the silence. He'd been on his phone for most of the drive, issuing orders in clipped Korean. Today was a message. They want a war. Then give them one, Maya said, before she could stop herself. Jin looked at her, something unreadable in his expression. You don't know what you're saying. Don't I? They tried to kill Mrs. Choi. Twice. They're going to keep trying until someone stops them. Maya met his gaze. So stop them. It's not that simple. Why not? You're the one everyone's afraid of, right? The most dangerous man in the city. Or is that just reputation? Jin's jaw clenched. For a moment, Maya thought she'd pushed too far. Then, unexpectedly, he smiled. Just a slight curve of his mouth, but it transformed his face. You're not afraid of me at all, are you? Should I be? Most people are. I'm not most people. Maya turned back to the window. Besides, I've already died once. Everything after that is bonus time. She felt, rather than saw, Jin's reaction to that. The way he went still, the way his breathing changed. When he spoke again, his voice was rough. You haven't died. You're here. You're alive. My body's alive. That's not the same thing. Maya didn't know why she was telling him this, why the words kept coming. When Marcus and Elijah died, something in me died too. I've just been going through the motions since then. Working, sleeping, surviving, but not living. And now, Maya thought about it, about throwing herself over Mrs. Choi's body, about the bullet that had missed her by inches, about the way her heart had hammered when Jin disappeared into that lobby. Now, I don't know. Maybe I'm starting to remember what living feels like, or maybe I'm just getting good at dying for other people. Don't. The word came out sharp, almost angry. Maya looked at him in surprise. Jin's hands were clenched into fists, his knuckles white. Don't talk about dying. You're not going to die. I won't let you. You can't control everything. Watch me. The safe house was beautiful in a sparse, functional way. High ceilings, lots of windows that somehow still felt secure, furniture that was expensive but understated. Mrs. Choi was immediately taken to a bedroom on the ground floor to rest. Dr. Yoon was already there. Apparently he'd been called ahead, and he fussed over her with professional concern that seemed to irritate Mrs. Choi more than comfort her. Maya found herself in a guest room on the second floor, exhausted, but too wired to sleep. She'd just started to peel off her blood-stained clothes when someone knocked. Maya, it's Dr. Yoon. I should check your wound. She opened the door, and Dr. Yoon entered with his medical bag, his expression troubled. He examined her side where the stab wound was healing, his touch gentle, but distracted. It's healing well, he said finally. You're lucky. Another inch and... He stopped, shook his head. You need to be more careful. Careful wasn't an option today. It's never an option around Jin. Dr. Yoon met her eyes, and Maya saw something there. Guilt? Fear? Maya, I need to tell you something about Dr. Yoon. Jin's voice from the doorway, cold as winter. My mother needs you. I just examined her. She's fine. Now. It wasn't a request. Dr. Yoon gathered his things quickly, giving Maya one last look that she couldn't decipher, and left. Jin stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. You can't keep doing that, he said. Doing what? Throwing yourself in front of bullets, taking knives meant for other people. You're not invincible, Maya. Neither is your mother, neither are you. Maya crossed her arms. What was I supposed to do? Let her die? You were supposed to survive. Jin moved closer, and Maya's breath caught. He was still in his bloody shirt, his hair disheveled, looking more human and vulnerable than she'd ever seen him. You keep saving my mother, but who's going to save you? I don't need saving. Everyone needs saving. Jin's hand came up, and this time he didn't stop himself. His fingers brushed her cheek, so gentle it made her shiver. Even you, especially you. Maya couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Jin was looking at her like she was something precious, something breakable, and she didn't know what to do with that. Didn't know how to handle the way her body leaned toward his without permission. Jin, she started, but didn't know how to finish. His thumb traced her jawline, his eyes following the movement. You're so brave, too brave. It terrifies me. Why? Because brave people die, Maya. They throw themselves on grenades and take bullets for strangers, and they die. And the people who care about them are left behind to... He stopped, jaw clenching, hand dropping. You should rest. We'll talk tomorrow about next steps. He turned to leave, and something in Maya snapped. That's it? You're just going to walk away? Jin paused, his hand on the doorknob, back still to her. Yes. Why? What are you so afraid of? You. The word was barely a whisper. I'm afraid of you. Then he was gone, leaving Maya standing in the middle of the room, her heart pounding, her skin still tingling where he'd touched her. What the hell was happening to her? Drop a comment below if you're screaming at Jin to tell her the truth, and hit that like button because this tension is about to get so much worse. 3 days passed in strange suspended animation. The safe house became their entire world. Jin's men patrolled the perimeter. Mrs. Choi rested and slowly regained her strength. Dr. Yoon came and went, always looking like he wanted to say something he couldn't quite voice. And Maya found herself caught between two impossible things: the growing warmth of Mrs. Choi's affection and the maddening hot and cold behavior of Jin Choi. He'd find her in the library, sit across from her, ask her about the book she was reading. They'd talk for hours about everything and nothing. Her childhood in foster care, his memories of Korea before his father destroyed his innocence. He'd laugh at something she said, a real laugh that lit up his whole face, and Maya would feel something dangerous bloom in her chest. Then he'd stand abruptly, his expression shuddering, and leave without a word. Like she'd done something wrong. Like proximity to her was painful. It was driving her insane. On the 4th day, Maya found Mrs. Choi in the garden, a small enclosed space behind the safe house, carefully maintained despite being a temporary residence. The old woman was examining rose bushes, her movement still careful but growing stronger. You're recovering well, Maya said, joining her. Thanks to you. Again. Mrs. Choi smiled, patting the bench beside her. Sit with me, dear. I want to talk to you about something. Maya sat, enjoying the afternoon sun on her face. For a moment, neither of them spoke, just two women in a garden, peaceful despite the armed guards visible through the trees. My son is falling in love with you, Mrs. Choi said finally, conversationally, as if discussing the weather. Maya choked on air. What? No, he's not. He barely tolerates me. Oh, my dear child, Mrs. Choi's eyes were knowing, warm. I've raised that boy. I know every expression, every gesture. He looks at you the way his father once looked at me. Before... She stopped, something painful crossing her face. Before everything went wrong. He looks at you like your sunlight, and he's been living in darkness too long. Then why does he keep pushing me away? Because he's terrified. Jin has survived by keeping everyone at arm's length. Even me sometimes. But you've gotten under his skin. You make him feel things he thought he'd buried with his father. Mrs. Choi took Maya's hand. You're good for him. You remind him he's human. Maya's throat tightened. I'm not good for anyone. I'm broken, Mrs. Choi. I've been broken for 3 years. Broken doesn't mean worthless. Sometimes the broken pieces are what let the light in. Mrs. Choi squeezed her hand. And I think you're starting to heal. I see it in your eyes. You're coming back to life. Because of you, because you've been kind to me. Maya's eyes stung. I don't know why, but you've made me feel like I matter. Like I'm more than just someone taking up space in the world. You are so much more than that, Maya. You're brave and strong and compassionate despite everything you've lost. You're exactly the kind of person my son needs. The kind of person Mrs. Choi's voice caught. The kind of person I always hoped he'd find. Maya found herself crying without meaning to. Mrs. Choi pulled her close, and Maya let herself be held, let herself pretend for a moment that she had a mother again, that she had family, that she belonged somewhere. She didn't. See Mrs. Choi's face over her shoulder. Didn't see the guilt and sorrow there, the weight of a secret that was growing heavier by the day. That evening, Jin found Maya on the roof. She'd discovered the access door by accident, and something about being high up, seeing the stars without the city's light pollution, made her feel less trapped. You shouldn't be up here alone, Jin said, stepping out onto the flat roof. It's not secure. Nothing's secure. We could be attacked right now and I wouldn't know until the bullets started flying. Maya didn't turn around. Besides, I needed air. Jin moved to stand beside her, close enough that she could feel the heat of his body. They stood in silence, looking at the stars. I need to teach you to fight, Jin said finally. I already know how to fight. You know how to brawl, to survive. That's not the same thing. He turned to face her, and even in the darkness, she could see the intensity in his eyes. You've thrown yourself into danger twice now to protect my mother. If you're going to keep doing that, and I suspect nothing I say will stop you, then you need proper training, strategy, technique, how to kill efficiently. Maya's pulse quickened. You want to train me? I want you to be able to defend yourself when I'm not there. He stopped, jaw clenching. I want you to survive this world you've stumbled into. What if I don't want to just survive? What if I want to fight back? Against who? The Black Serpent Syndicate, the people who tried to kill Mrs. Choi, whoever else thinks they can hurt the people. Maya stopped, realizing what she'd almost said. The people I care about. When had that happened? When had Jin and Mrs. Choi become people she cared about? Jin was watching her with that unreadable expression again. You're serious. I've never been more serious about anything. Then we start tomorrow. 5 a.m. Don't be late. Jin turned to go, then paused. Maya, what you said before, about the people you care about, did you mean that? Maya's heart hammered. This was the moment to be honest, to be vulnerable, to admit that somewhere between the alley and this rooftop, she'd started to feel something she'd thought was dead forever. Yes, she said quietly. I meant it. Jin's hand clenched at his side. He stood there for a long moment, and Maya could practically feel the war inside him. Then he turned back to her, closed the distance between them in 2 strides, and stopped. An inch away. Close enough that Maya could count his eyelashes, could see the gold flecks in his dark eyes, could feel his breath on her face. I can't, he whispered, and there was so much pain in his voice that Maya's chest ached. I want to. God, I want to, but I can't. Not until you know. Know what? Jin's eyes closed. Everything. You need to know everything. About me, about what I've done, about... His voice broke. About the kind of man I really am. I already know what kind of man you are, Maya said. I've seen you with your mother. I've seen you protect your people. I've seen the way you look at me when you think I'm not paying attention. You're not the monster you pretend to be, Jin. Yes, I am. Jin stepped back, and the loss of his nearness felt like a physical wound. You just don't know it yet. He left her there on the roof, alone with the stars, and her confusion, and the growing certainty that she was falling for someone who kept pushing her away. She didn't know it would have been kinder if he'd kept pushing forever. Training started at 5 a.m. sharp. Jin met her in a room that had been converted into a private gym. Mats on the floor, weapons on the walls, mirrors reflecting back her uncertain expression. We're going to start with the basics, Jin said, moving to the center of the mat. He was in black workout clothes, his hair tied back, and Maya tried very hard not to notice how the shirt clung to his shoulders. Stance, balance, how to make every movement count. For 2 hours, he drilled her relentlessly. Her body remembered the street fighting she'd learned through necessity, but Jin was teaching her something different. Something precise and deadly. How to use an opponent's strength against them. Where to strike to disable, to kill. How to move like water, flowing around attacks instead of just enduring them. He was a good teacher. Patient when she struggled, encouraging when she got something right. And he touched her constantly, adjusting her stance, correcting her form, demonstrating holds. Each touch burned. Maya found herself hyper-aware of every point of contact, every brush of his fingers. Again, Jin said after she'd successfully thrown him for the first time. But faster. In a real fight, hesitation gets you killed. Maya moved through the technique again, and this time when she hooked her leg behind his and pushed, he went down hard. She followed him down, ending up straddling his chest, her forearm against his throat like he'd taught her. They froze. Maya was breathing hard, sweat dampening her shirt, and Jin was looking up at her with an expression that made her stomach flip. "Good," he said, his voice rough. That's perfect form." Neither of them moved. Maya's forearm was still pressed against his throat, not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to control. She could feel his pulse racing under her arm, matching her own galloping heartbeat. "Jin," she whispered, not even sure what she was asking for. His hands came up, gripped her waist. For a moment, Maya thought he was going to pull her down, close that last bit of distance, finally give in to whatever this thing was between them. Instead, he lifted her off him and stood in one fluid motion. "We're done for today. Same time tomorrow." He left the gym without looking back, and Maya punched the mat hard enough to hurt her knuckles. What was his problem? What was he so afraid of? She didn't know that in another part of the house, Mrs. Choi was in Jin's office, staring at a photograph she'd found while looking for a book. A photograph of a crime scene, police tape, covered bodies, a date stamp in the corner that made her blood run cold. She knew that date. Jin had come home covered in blood that night, shaking, saying there'd been a firefight with the Black Serpent Syndicate, that innocent people had been caught in the crossfire, that he'd failed to protect civilians. Mrs. Choi looked at the faces in the photograph, blurred but visible. A man, a child, and in the background a woman screaming, being held back by police. She pulled out her phone, hands shaking, and did something she'd sworn she'd never do. She hacked into Jin's private files, the ones he thought were encrypted beyond anyone's reach, the ones she'd helped him set up years ago, back when she still understood technology, before she decided to pretend to be just a helpless old woman. It took her 15 minutes to find the report, another 5 to read it. And when she finished, she sat back in Jin's chair and closed her eyes. Maya Johnson, widow. Her husband Marcus and son Elijah, killed 3 years ago in a shootout between Jin's organization and the Black Serpent Syndicate. Collateral damage. Wrong place, wrong time. Jin had carried the guilt ever since, had tried to track down the widow to offer compensation, but she disappeared into the shelter system. And now she was here, in their home, saving Mrs. Choi's life, training with Jin, falling for him, and he was falling for her, and neither of them knew they were bound together by the worst kind of tragedy. Mrs. Choi picked up the photograph with trembling hands. She should tell them. Should sit them both down. And what? Watch Maya's face when she learned the truth? Watch her son lose the first person who'd made him feel human in years? Watch them both destroyed by something. That wasn't anyone's fault. Not really, just the cruel randomness of violence. Mrs. Choi looked at the photograph for a long time. Then she slipped it into her pocket and deleted the file from Jin's computer, covering her tracks carefully. She left his office and found Maya in the garden, reading a book, looking peaceful for the first time since the hospital attack. "There you are," Mrs. Choi said, sitting beside her. "How was training?" "Brutal. Your son is a taskmaster." Maya smiled, but something sad flickered in her eyes. "He's also driving me crazy." He has that effect on people. Mrs. Choi took Maya's hand. Can I tell you something, dear? Something I learned a long time ago? Of course. Sometimes the people we love keep secrets, not because they want to hurt us, but because they're trying to protect us. Or protect themselves. Or because the truth is so complicated that they don't know how to untangle it. Mrs. Choi squeezed Maya's hand. And sometimes the kindest thing we can do is let them keep those secrets, at least for a little while, until they're ready. Maya looked at her curiously. Are we still talking about Jin? I'm talking about all of us. Everyone in this house is carrying something heavy. Everyone has scars, but maybe that's okay. Maybe we can be a family anyway. Scars and secrets and all. A family, Maya repeated softly. I haven't had one of those in a long time. Then let us be yours. Mrs. Choi pulled her close. For as long as you'll have us. Maya hugged her back, and Mrs. Choi felt the photograph in her pocket like a brand against her hip. She was making a choice. Maybe the wrong choice? Definitely a selfish choice. But she'd lost too much in her life already. She wasn't ready to lose this too. The next week fell into a rhythm. Maya trained with Jin every morning, their sessions intense and charged with unspoken tension. She spent afternoons with Mrs. Choi, learning to cook Korean dishes, talking about everything and nothing. Evenings she'd find herself in the library, and more often than not, Jin would appear. They'd talk until late, carefully avoiding anything too personal, dancing around the attraction that pulled them together like gravity. On the 8th day, everything changed. Maya was walking past Jin's office when she heard voices. Jin and Dr. Yoon, speaking in English, probably out of habit from their years studying abroad together. You have to tell her, Dr. Yoon was saying, his voice strained. Jin, this has gone on too long. She deserves to know. I know she deserves to know. Jin's voice was raw. I try every day. Every single day I look at her and think, today I'll tell her, and then I see the way she looks at me, like I'm someone worth caring about, and I can't watch that look disappear. It's going to disappear anyway when she finds out, and she will find out. These things always come out. I know, but I need just a little more time, please. A few more days of her not hating me. Is that so much to ask? What are you going to tell her, Jin? How are you going to explain that your organization, your men, your war killed her family? Maya's blood turned to ice. It wasn't my bullet, Jin said, and he sounded broken. It was Black Serpent, but it was my war, my territory, my fight that spilled over into that neighborhood. I might as well have pulled the trigger myself. You've carried this guilt for 3 years, and I'll carry it forever. But if I tell her now, if she learns what I've done, she'll leave. Or worse, she'll stay out of some misguided sense of obligation to my mother, and I'll have to watch her look at me with disgust every day. I don't think I can survive that, Yoon. I don't think... Maya didn't hear the rest. She was already backing away from the door, her heart in her throat, the world tilting on its axis. No, it couldn't be. Jin's organization had killed Marcus and Elijah, the man she'd been falling for, the man she'd been training with, the man whose touch made her skin burn. He was responsible for destroying her life? She made it to her room before her legs gave out, sat on the edge of the bed, hands shaking, mind racing. It had to be a mistake, a different incident. 3 years ago, there had been gang violence all over the city, multiple shootouts. It didn't have to be, but she knew. Somehow, she knew. The timeline fit, the location fit, and Jin's guilt, his constant pushing her away, his inability to touch her without looking like it caused him pain, it all made horrible, perfect sense. Maya stood, walked to her door. She needed to confront him, needed to hear him say it, needed Mrs. Choi was in the hallway, and the look on her face stopped Maya cold. You heard, the old woman said softly. It wasn't a question. You knew, Maya's voice came out flat, dead. You knew what he'd done and you didn't tell me. Maya, please, let me explain. Explain what? That you've been lying to me? That you've let me care about you? About him? Knowing the whole time that he killed my family? Maya's voice rose, cracked. I trusted you. I thought you cared about me. I do care about you. That's why Mrs. Choi stepped forward and Maya stepped back. Don't touch me. Don't. Maya's breath came in short gasps. I need to leave. I need to get out of here. Maya, you can't leave. It's not safe. The black serpent. I don't care. The shout echoed in the hallway. I don't care about the black serpent. I don't care about any of this. You want to know what's not safe? Staying here, caring about people who've been lying to me, falling for a man who destroyed my entire world. Jin appeared at the end of the hallway. He must have heard the shouting. His face was pale, stricken. Maya, don't. She held up a hand. Don't say my name. Don't come near me. Don't. Her voice broke. Was any of it real? The training, the conversations, the way you looked at me like I mattered? It was all real. Jin's voice was barely a whisper. Everything, every word, every look. You just forgot to mention you killed my husband and son. It wasn't me. It was Black Serpent. We were fighting over territory and in your war, on your orders, because of your choices. Maya's eyes burned, but she refused to cry. It doesn't matter whose finger was on the trigger, Jin. It was your bullet. Jin flinched like she'd struck him. I know, and I'm sorry. God, Maya, I'm so sorry. I've been trying to tell you. Every day I've been trying to find the words. 3 years, Maya said, and her voice was hollow. I've been dead inside for 3 years because of you. I lost everything. My husband, my son, my home, my life, all of it gone because you and the Black Serpent couldn't figure out how to share a city. She laughed, and it sounded broken. And then I saved your mother twice. I was ready to die for her. Do you understand how insane that is? I never wanted this. Jin took a step forward, and Maya took 2 back. I never wanted to hurt you. If I could go back, if I could change what happened. But you can't. It's done. They're gone. And I've been here, in your house, eating your food, training with you, falling for... She stopped, shook her head. I need to leave, now. It's not safe, Jin said again, desperately. Please, Maya, just stay until we can arrange proper protection. A new identity, enough money to start over somewhere far from here. Let me give you that, at least. I don't want your money. I don't want anything from you. Maya turned to Mrs. Choi, and something in her expression must have been devastating because the old woman's face crumpled. I'm sorry. I know it's not your fault. But I can't look at you and not think about what you kept from me. I just can't. She walked past them both, headed for the stairs. Jin moved like he might follow, but Mrs. Choi grabbed his arm. Let her go, she said softly. Let her have this. Maya made it to the ground floor, headed for the front door. One of Jin's guards moved to stop her. Let her pass, Jin's voice came from the top of the stairs. Broken, defeated. Let her go. The guard stepped aside. Maya opened the door and stepped out into the cool evening air. She had no car, no money, no plan, just the desperate need to get away from the house where she'd almost been happy, from the people who'd made her feel like she belonged, from the man she'd been stupid enough to fall for. She made it maybe 20 feet down the driveway before she heard the car. Engine roaring, moving too fast. She turned, saw the black sedan with tinted windows, saw it swerve toward her. Black Serpent. Maya's training kicked in. She dove to the side, hit the ground rolling. Gunfire erupted, bullets chewing up the pavement where she'd been standing. The sedan screeched to a halt, doors opening, men pouring out. 4 of them, armed, moving to surround her. Behind her, she heard Jin shouting, heard the guards mobilizing, but they were too far away. It would be at least 30 seconds before they could reach her. 30 seconds was a lifetime in a firefight. The first man lunged at her with a knife. Maya moved like Jin had taught her, sidestepped, grabbed his wrist, used his momentum to send him stumbling past. The second man came from her left, and she dropped low, swept his legs, came up with his gun as he fell. She'd never held a gun before, never wanted to, but her fingers found the safety, the trigger, and when the third man raised his weapon, she fired. The recoil shocked her. The man went down. Maya didn't have time to process what she'd done. The fourth man was on her, tackling her to the ground. She lost the gun, felt his hands around her throat. Then the weight was gone. Jin had the man by the collar, was throwing him aside like he weighed nothing. The man hit the ground, and Jin was on him. Brutal and efficient. Movements designed to end threats permanently. More guards arrived. The firefight lasted maybe 2 minutes total. When it was over, 2 Black Serpent men were dead. 2 were fleeing in their sedan, and Maya was on her knees on the pavement, shaking. Jin dropped beside her. "Are you hurt? Did they—" "Don't." Maya scrambled away from him. "Don't touch me. Maya, please! I killed someone." She looked at her hands, looked at the body of the man she'd shot. "I killed him. You survived. That's all that matters." Jin's voice was rough. "Maya, you can't leave. You see that now, right? They know your face. They know you're important to us. They'll hunt you." "Important to you," Maya repeated. She looked at him. This man she'd been falling for. This man who destroyed her life and then put it back together without telling her it was his fault it had shattered in the first place. Is that what I am? Important? Yes. God, yes. Jin looked wrecked. "You're the most important person in my world outside my mother. You make me feel human. You make me want to be better than I am. And I know I don't deserve it. I know I should stay away from you, but I can't. I tried and I can't." "You should have tried harder." Maya stood, her legs unsteady. "You should have told me the truth from the beginning. You should have—" Her voice broke. "You should have let me hate you before I fell in love with you." The words hung in the air. Jin's face went white. "You—" he started, but Maya was already turning away. "I'm not leaving, not because I forgive you, not because I want to stay, but because apparently I don't have a choice." She walked toward the house without looking back. "The Black Serpent wants me dead. Fine, then I'll help you destroy them, every single one of them. And when that's done, when this war is over, I never want to see you again." She walked past Mrs. Choi, who was crying silently on the front steps. Walked past Dr. Yoon, who looked like he wanted to say something. Walked past all of Jin's men with their guns and their loyalty and their willingness to kill for their boss. She walked to her room, locked the door, and finally let herself break. She cried for Marcus, who'd been so gentle, so good. For Elijah, who'd never gotten to grow up. For the life she'd had, and the life she'd lost, and the twisted joke fate had played by putting her in the path of the man responsible for taking it all away. And she cried for Jin, for the feeling of his hands on her waist, his breath on her face, the almost kiss on the rooftop, for what they might have been if the truth had been different. If he'd been anyone else. If she'd been anyone else. Outside her door, Jin stood in the hallway. He pressed his palm against the wood, listening to her cry, and felt something inside him that he'd thought was already dead die a little more. Dr. Yoon found him there an hour later, still standing, still listening. "You should have told her," Dr. Yoon said quietly. "I know. You should have told her before she fell in love with you. I know. Jin's voice was hollow. But I was selfish. I just wanted a little more time. A few more days of her not looking at me like I'm a monster. And now? Now she knows the truth. Now she looks at me exactly the way I deserve to be looked at. Jin's hand fell from the door, and I'd give anything to go back, to tell her the moment she woke up in my house. To be honest, even if it meant she'd hate me from the start. Would you? Dr. Yoon asked. Really? Because I think you'd make the same choice all over again. You'd take those stolen moments, those almost kisses, those mornings training together. You'd take all of it, even knowing it would end like this. Jin was quiet for a long time. Then, softly, "You're right. I'm exactly that selfish. And that's why I don't deserve her. Forgiveness." Inside the room, Maya's crying had finally stopped. She lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling hollowed out and raw. She'd meant what she said. She'd helped destroy the Black Serpent Syndicate. She'd end this war, and then she'd leave and never look back. But even as she made that promise to herself, she knew it was a lie. Because she'd seen Jin's face when she'd said she loved him, seen the way it had broken him, and some traitorous part of her heart had sung at putting that look there, at mattering that much to someone, even if that someone had destroyed her entire world. Comment, Part 3 now. If you need to see how this ends, and subscribe because the final confrontation is going to destroy you emotionally, hit that like button if your heart is broken right now, because mine is too.